Okay, let's get this out of the way first. There are parts of that jam you just heard that might not be easy for you, but what we're going to work on in this video is how to create riffs like some of what you just heard that are easier than you think. And sometimes you just need a few notes and that'll get the job done. You can always add more advanced techniques to your riffs as you grow as a guitarist. And we'll dive into the note for note tutorial in part 2 of this lesson for premium members. So if you really want to learn that jam, sign up at the link in the description. You'll get that plus a whole lot more with membership, and I'll tell you more about that at the end of the video. But for right now, let's dive into creating some killer riffs. Before we dig in, keep this in mind. If you're a beginner, maybe some of this isn't easy for you, but if you work at it, I'm sure that you can get it. But that's not exactly the point. The point is more to arm you with some ideas of how to come up with things on your own. And you can certainly grow as a guitarist and add little embellishments and complexities and maybe some cool little rhythmic things to your riffs as you go. But whatever your skill level, hopefully these ideas that we're going to get into here are going to be helpful when it comes to generating some riffs on your guitar. All right, let's get into it. All right, if you're playing in a band, maybe you've got a drummer that's just pounding out a groove and maybe you're laying something on top of that. That's great. It's good to start with the groove. If you don't, maybe you're in your studio, your bedroom, or wherever, and I would suggest locking in with a groove first. That's a great place to start. I'm going to use a little looper pedal here just to scratch out a little example groove. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, just to keep track here of that groove. And if you don't have that, you can certainly put on a drum track, backing track. They're all over the internet. And then what we're going to do is just add some chords. I'm going to play in the key of E, but you could do this in other keys. And here I'm just adding some very sparse chord moves, right? Just down and then some up on the top strings. A little contrast there, a little dark and light. All right, so now we've got a little groove in mind, whether you've got a looper to keep track of that or you're playing to some existing groove, be it a real drummer or a machine or a website even, then you've got it in place. And that's important to just keep it locked. Keep it locked as you're thinking about how you're going to approach the next phase of this, which was adding those chords. And notice that I did lock in with the groove when it came to just kind of chucking around with those chords. A great place to start thinking about riffs. This is, by the way, this is just an idea of one way to approach how to write some riffs. This is by no means the end-all be-all way of doing it, but it helps you to not start from scratch, not be a writer starting from a blank page every time. You just kind of, okay, let's go with a groove and let's play some chord chucks on top. Could be different, probably will be different when you're coming up with something. All right, now what's next? From here, we're going to start to introduce some notes, right? Just some single notes, not really doing chording here, but just we want to get inside a riff. We want to build a riff. And I'm going to use, my friend, the minor pentatonic scale in E. In this position, that's what I'm going to play. That's the open 6th string, 3rd fret, then the 5th string is open, 2nd fret, and then up to the 4th is open, 2nd again. And we could also add that B flat there on the 5th string, 1st fret, and have the blues scale. This is a great place to start. And what we're going to do is pick a couple of notes from this scale, and it matches nicely with our E chord here, right? Can kind of hear some riffs about to happen just playing the scale. And what I want you to do is maybe think about, if we want to talk rock, we want to talk rock blues and sort of the grittier side of it, think about the octave and the note 1 below it. It's the dominant 7th, right? Very characteristic of this style. So let's do something in between our chord chucks that incorporates that. All right, so what we did there was start with these two notes, and we started pretty simple as far as integrating it into our chord chucks. Right? Basic, really, really dead simple, just playing these two notes. But as the groove progressed and I got a little more comfortable with those notes and how I wanted to approach jamming on this riff, what's to become the riff, then I started really thinking more about my picking, right? We can really lean into the coolness of a riff just by changing up the rhythm, right? So instead of this, which might be great for one iteration of it, but we can really do some more intricate picking and get something like this, right? So just all with the picking. Changing up the notes and where you're actually fretting or where you're playing that open string, just freely, right? Our goal here is to just kind of uncover something, right? And kind of stumble on something. And we're using, again, the groove. We're using some chords to kind of keep us locked harmonically into this thing. And then we're using our friend, the minor pentatonic scale, in this case in E. But again, it could be any key. Now we're going to expand our notes beyond just those two. Those two are really cool, really important. That octave really keeps us rooted in the key that we're in, right? And then this, playing the open fourth string in this case, that dominant seventh, flat seventh, goes by many names, still cool. Minor seventh, no matter what you call it, it's cool. And what we're going to do is then expand beyond just those notes, right? We played the whole scale. There's a good one right there. Let's grab this G note, which is the minor third of our scale, and it's going to really pair nicely with the two notes that we picked so far. None of that was rehearsed, and maybe you can tell, but the idea is that I'm just moving around pretty freely and keeping things simple on the fretboard by just limiting myself to these two notes. And then now, this one. And of course, you can add other notes from the scale. And of course, you can also step outside the scale, right? There are no rules here, really. This is just a sort of set of ideas to hopefully get you moving and coming up with some cool riffs on your guitar. And what you're seeing is really kind of how I started to approach that jam that took place at the beginning of this video, right? I had my groove, and I really was digging it, I was feeling it, and then immediately that little, additional two notes in there, three if you count the open sixth string, but I was already playing that, so let's say two notes, just kind of came out and it felt really good, and things just grew from there. One other thing that I find myself doing is when I come up with a riff, I'll do something like that, just kind of thinking about crafting a little melody kind of built in. In that case, it kind of felt like a little bit of the bluesy call and response, right? Felt like the call, like the answer, but still kind of pushing us down the conversation a little bit. Let's do that again to set up a different call, and now the final response. Something like that. And yes, there was a little bit more, flash in there, but it doesn't have to be. You could do something a lot simpler. Even that, just to pare it down to its bare bones here. right? Remember, when you've got a few notes going and you've got a cool little sequence, take them through that conversation, the call and response of blues, and see where that conversation goes. And don't forget that you can add little embellishments, whether additional notes or some little cool rhythmic variations that help to make this sound like you, and you get your voice coming out of the guitar. That's the goal. Thanks for checking out this lesson. I hope it was helpful to you, and premium members get part 2 of this lesson, and it comes with downloadable PDF and Guitar Pro tabs, plus access to the Sound Slice tab player that helps you slow parts down and loop them to help you really focus on what you need to. Plus, membership comes with over 50 in-depth step-by-step courses to help you learn the instrument so that you can play the music that you love. If you're not already a premium member, you can find out more about my BGI membership right over there. And if you are a member, thank you. Thank you so much. I love sharing what I know and exploring the guitar with you. It's my absolute joy, and I'm honored to be a part of your guitar journey. So I'll see you inside my BGI. Until then, practice smart and play on.